You see an issue and you're like, okay, I can make this work.
Right.
I know how to make it work.
Sometimes artists have no clue that what I'm even talking about when I bring it up.
I mean, a lot of people have an iPhone, have no idea they can even listen
That's right, yeah.
that they can listen to Dolby Atmos mixes.
Sure. We just were like, well, I'm gonna build the space. Let's figure it out.
We didn't really talk about a lot. It was just like, I was like, so when do we start? And you're like, I started yesterday.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome back again to the Studio 101 Recording Podcast. Our guest today is Mr. Donnie Scearce. Donnie, thank you for being here.
Hello, everybody.
Donnie, I want you to tell everybody out there listening kind of what your current job is, maybe a little bit about how you got into it, and maybe where you're from, just give a little bit of details.
Background.
Yeah, and so everybody knows kind of where we're coming from with this episode.
Started out playing in bands in North Carolina. And, we would just get together, some buddies get together in the basement and start jamming. We entered a contest that we ended up winning the whole contest, and it launched me into a music career.
Right.
And I thought it was going to be construction.
What years are we talking about?
85, 86.
So all the way back to 85. This is like legit Battle of the Bands type deal, the real deal.
Right.
Gotcha.
We ended up getting like a, booking agent, kind of like launched me into playing at frat parties all up and down the East Coast and, playing cover songs. And through that, there's always one guy in the band normally that's like the guy that learns how to work the PA.
Yeah.
That, I was the tech guy too,
Mm-hmm.
So from that, I like built a sound company, recording studios.
Right.
I started building electric guitars. I am now here doing Dolby Atmos mixes.
Yep.
I currently work with Corey Smith as his production manager, front of house. Been doing that for 14 years.
Right.
So it's just following my dream and following that path. Did Hootie and the Blowfish tours in the 90s.
Right.
Just been busy.
Yeah. So it's it's just funny that you say that. Like in that band setting, I grew up around like my dad traveling on a bus and doing some tour stuff and all those things. Like 6 years old, I'm on a bus with a bunch of grown men riding around. So like I'm observing all this stuff, and you're exactly right. There's like a tech guy. There's like a booking guy. There's like people who have, if it works good in the band, people have their own different strengths, right? In my opinion. Right. So my story's a little bit like yours in the fact that I saw my dad be the tech everything, the sound guys. Like my dad was an electrical engineer. So like he had a little bit of that background. So it kind of, if you have those kind of tendencies, like it's going to default on you, to learn that
well, you're
kind
a
of stuff.
fix-it person.
And
you see an issue and you're like, okay, I can make this work.
Right.
I know how to make it work.
Yeah, and then and in that era, 85 to 95ish, everything's like straight analog hardwired. There's no digital anything.
Right.
So if you got a buzz, well, there's a bad cable or there's a bad amp. Or you have a bad driver, those kind of things you got to figure out how to track down. And, from your viewpoint, that sort of propelled you, being in the band situation, kind of being that point guy for that stuff, sort of propelled you into the, live production world, I guess is what,
that's the main bread and butter, or has been. Probably the last run I had at a music career was in like 2008, right when the housing crash happened,
Yes, I do know, believe it.
And there was a decision to make at that point where you're like, okay, am I going to keep getting in a van, traveling around America, trying to,
sell records
to do this thing,
live,
to sell something that doesn't, like, there's no records anymore. So I just decided to dive back into the mixing and live thing, and it's been great.
Yes, for sure. And so you're born in North Carolina. kind of eventually ended up in the Columbia, South Carolina.
Right.
area.
97, moved to Columbia working with Hootie and the Blowfish.
Right.
We'd just done like 3 years of touring, and we were like going to take a year off, and they wanted me to move down there, so I moved in, and then they didn't do anything for a while.
Yeah.
So I found myself, okay, I got to do something else. I started a new band called the Ultraviolets, and had some regional success. Did that for a long time, up until I met up with Corey.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so, you know, for anybody who might be watching or listening to the podcast, can you give us a little bit of a 30,000-foot view of the progression from, you know, kind of being thrown in the fire with the band, tech, sound guy person, leading up to, you know, getting a professional job in, you know, the live production world? Like, what is it kind of, I guess my main question would be like, is it a networking thing? Like you met a bunch of people on the road, and they became familiar with who you are,
yes,
your reliability, all those things. And
absolutely.
They gave you, like, maybe they gave you a chance to get started in that. How did it go for you?
For me, to launch into that like high level of production, I had actually given Billy Hewlin was Hootie and the Blowfish's engineer, like even right before they got signed.
Front house guy.
Yeah. And Billy was going to school at App State when I was like part-time, like sound guy at this big metal club.
Okay.
And so it was like 30 miles down the road from where he was going to school.
Right.
So he would come down and hang out, you know, and we would talk about our love for Iron Maiden and, you know, metal bands. And I was really getting burnt out because we were doing like 4 national bands a week.
Crazy.
And so I was looking for someone to take over like our local band, regional band night that we did. And I was like, Billy, come in here and do this, man. I'll teach you how to do it. Give you it's a great part-time experience, something you want to do. So he did that for me for a while. And I started a sound company shortly thereafter, working with this producer and promoter that did regional acts. Billy finished school, went down to Hilton Head, South Carolina, started working at this bar called the Old Post Office.
I remember.
Remember the Old Post Office?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And so he was like the house guy at the Old Post Office when he got out of school.
Yeah.
And Hootie was touring around. You know, they were doing the same circuit I was. We were playing frat parties and doing all the same things. And they hit it off with Billy. They hired Billy. He got in the van with those guys. Next thing you know, they hit it big.
Yeah.
And Billy reaches out to me and says, come on, let's go. Man. So it was relationships, giving someone else an opportunity, and then they gave it back to me.
Right. Yeah, that's we mentioned it in a couple of the other podcasts we've done, but the networking part of the music industry is huge. But especially being skilled and reliable are two of the things that you have to have in combination with networking with people. You can't just be buddies with people and then kind of show up and do a crappy job.
Right.
You know, like they're calling you in on these jobs because they feel like you're a good fit, you know, with the band and with the tour and all these things, you know. So all of those stars need to kind of align because you got to, well, at the time, like you guys ride around in a van, like that's close confinement, close quarters for lots of hours, you know.
You learn how to get along with people.
Yeah.
Or not, or you won't be a part of it. So
Right.
I think being a good hang is part of being a road gig.
Yeah.
Is like not, you know.
Sure.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah.
that
and
no one wants to be around.
For sure. And I mean, you know, in the music world, live performance world, you got to sort of navigate through some egos sometimes and all of that good fun stuff and figure out your place where you fit and can work with whoever, whatever situation you're put in. You got to be able to work with it. So
absolutely.
But well, so let's talk about Hootie days. There's probably not many stories that you can tell us.
That's kind of the road, the code of the road.
The code of the road
is that, Yeah, you don't really
Yeah.
talk. Well, we don't talk about those things.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can talk about, you know, they treated me great.
Right.
Like we had the best of everything. Those guys really knew how to tour. You know, like these days, everyone's so budget conscious because they're not really getting money from CD sales. They're not getting near the numbers they used to get.
Nope.
You know, during those days, you know, we would go on tour and we do a couple. Say we're in Japan, we were going to spend a week in Japan, but we only had 3 shows.
Yeah.
So instead
of the bonus of the job,
right. But instead of them going, let's just do 3 shows and then get out of here because we got to, and everybody killing themselves to do it. They understood that this was an opportunity to experience
a different culture, different country, all those
absolutely.
things. Yeah,
so it was a great experience with them.
Yeah. And so I guess one of the things that I love to hear you talk about is like being a part of a band and a record that just completely exploded and changed. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I'll have to go back and do my research. I think it's still one of the top 5. Cracked Rear View is one of the top 5 selling albums in the entire world ever.
Ever, yeah. I mean, I think so. I remember the number. Was it 17 million? That first year,
yeah,
or the first release, and then Jagged Little Pill, like eclipsed it the next year.
Right.
But and then there was into CD sales.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and all that changed.
Well, I mean, can you give us a little bit of insight on like what that was like? I mean, going to Japan, going to different countries, even playing in the US, you know, selling out, you know, huge venues. Like what did the hype feel like on a record that big?
Honestly, it just felt like going to do another gig.
Really?
Yeah, I think those guys did a great job of like putting personnel in place, and making everyone feel like, yeah, we're just getting up every day and having some breakfast and putting on a show.
Yeah,
you know, and there wasn't a lot of pressure. The pressure was put on individually by the people that they hired. Everyone took responsibility for what they were required to do.
Yeah.
You know, we had a great production manager, Jim Digby. He had done like Genesis. You know, he'd already done world tours and everything. He kind of kept us all in line and would direct traffic on everybody. Yeah. If you were getting a little bit, you know, too big for your britches or out of line or something, he'd pull you aside and like say, you know, don't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's just always.
I mean, it didn't stop all of us, you know.
For sure. Well, it's always been so cool to me, you know, that, you know, the Hootie and the Blowfish thing came from Columbia right here in South Carolina. And you kind of alluded to it earlier. It was a different era of music, especially with sales. All the sales were basically physical copies was literally the only way. And there was way more money to be made on mechanicals and, you know, performance rights, money, and everything was totally different. And you know, it's shifted. Everything's kind of shifted, and it looks different. Live and performance and touring and stuff looks totally different now.
And I think if you know, there's different ways to look at it from a consumer's perspective. Yeah, they were spending money on like, you know, a CD. I think the price of CDs were up like $17 or $18 when they finally went away.
Yeah.
And so there was that stream of revenue for the artists coming in that way, but the ticket prices were lower for the shows.
Yeah.
And so now it's completely flipped.
Yeah.
Now you're basically doing records as an advertisement to get someone to come see you play live.
Sure.
There's, you know,
and it's hard sometimes, you know. My daughter and her friends they are concert freaks. They love it. So I think they're trying, what was their deal? They're trying to go to a concert a month for 12 months.
Yeah, I hope AI doesn't take that over.
Well,
you know, like, I don't see how we're going.
Well, her friend group, they love the live concert. They literally love it. They were just in Charlotte to see Hardy this past weekend and flipped out and loved it. So, you know, for my kids, you know, I'm pumped that they still have access to the live performance thing. It just kind of stinks that the prices are so high. But when you try to explain to the average person, you know, who's trying to buy a $200 ticket, and they can't quite conceptualize like what went into the pricing of that ticket, you know.
Right.
When you start to break it down, you have to, you know, as the buying, consuming public, you have to understand like the money to be made on recording and releasing music is significant. It's half or more less than it was 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
It's just the numbers are different. And when you're out there touring and you're selling yourself as an artist, like not the only, but the most money to be made is off of the tour.
Right.
Merch,
ticket sales and merch.
You know, I mean, so just as a you know, layman's breakdown of all that, that's kind of how it works and how it's set up now.
We turned into the advertising business instead of the recording business. I mean, it's necessary. You know, it's still a necessary part of the business plan that young bands or artists should have, because they without it, you know, without it, there's nothing to there's no platform to get people to come see you to play live. Right. You know.
All this is a good segue to, in my mind, to talk about Corey Smith for a second. So Corey's been an independent artist doing his own thing since 99 or 2000 probably.
It's like 21 years.
Yeah, so he's, you know, Corey came on the scene and sort of set a standard for independent artists that like he's sustained for all these years. He's really not ever signed a big record deal. He's never signed a huge pub deal. He's worked his plan. He's come up with a great plan. He's, you know, thought through all these things in order to keep his career going and still be in the forefront. And people know who Corey is. I mean, he's made a name for himself kind of without tagging along to Sony and Warner and Universal and all those things, you know. So so to me, from your perspective, you know, you're out there, you know, every week watching these people pay to come see Corey. How is that different in your mind than, you know, maybe the Hootie tours that you've done and the, you know, the artists that were like signed? What do you see that are kind of the differences?
Well, we have to be a lot more kind of efficient and streamlined as in all aspects of what we do. Corey, you know, like with Hootie, you could hire out the big sound company that you carry on tour. Special Event Services did our touring,
right?
And with Corey, we basically send out basic requirements that for a minimum requirement to do a show, you know, and then we Corey owns all of his own, like our mixing consoles and microphones and stands, so we can bring a whole show in.
Yeah. It's all self-contained,
and we can fit it, and we can put it all in one trailer and put it behind one bus.
Yeah,
you know, with Hootie, we had 7 buses.
Right.
It was like, I think there was 8 tractor trailers full of gear and 7 buses, and you know, it was, you know, it's a big operation.
Right.
I think 42 people on the road, whereas we have 8 at the most. You know.
Right.
We carry a videographer, which is very important. You know. Our tour manager is also Corey's personal manager, but he's also our monitor engineer, guitar tech.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have a merch guy.
Right.
And then the band, it's a 3-piece band. Every once in a while we have a guest come sit in with us on the tour, you know, it might be an opener or something like that. You know.
It's cool to me, and you know, major props to Corey for you know, continuing to be in front of people I mean, you guys play.
He loves it, man.
You guys play 100 shows a year.
Yep, about 100 a year. But you know, Corey can't help it. You know, when someone's a real artist, they're going to be doing that whether they make a dime or not. Yeah. Like Corey was writing songs you know, while he was a school teacher.
Yeah.
You know, not a lot of people know his story, but he, the people that were coming to his shows and the money that he was getting from the shows, like, it forced him to have to go try to do the artist thing.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I can't walk away from this. I have to try it.
Yeah.
And he's been here ever since.
Nice.
You know, our late night conversations on the bus are like, you know, what do you think the next thing's going to be for you? He said, man, I'd love to teach again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just in him. He's just he's that kind of person.
Well, one of these days, I pitched this idea to Donnie about 5 times, but one of these days there's going to be a Corey Smith documentary, because I think people need to know.
That'd be cool.
If we, you know, if you could talk Corey into it, I think for other artists who are trying to follow the path that he's sort of paved, it would be super cool to give some insight to like how they made that happen.
I think it'll be an interesting story.
Yeah, for sure.
I think doing something like that for someone like Corey, he's kind of private person.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know if he'd want it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It would be it'd be a great documentary. I'm just saying,
cool.
I'm throwing that out there, you know.
I'll tell him you said it.
So for everybody who's been following the podcast, we here at Studio 101 we've been kind of under a expansion project that started this time last year. We expanded the building here. Connected with Donnie probably almost 2 years ago, year and a half ago.
Year and a half, yeah.
Yeah, and Donnie and I sat down, and I kind of told him the idea of what I wanted to do here, specifically at Studio 101, and he was like, "Hey, I'm looking for a space," and I was like, "Well." He was considering doing an Atmos room, and I was like, well, I'd already thought about doing an Atmos room, and so we just were like, well, I'm gonna build the space. Let's figure it out.
We didn't really talk about a lot. It was just like, I was like, so when do we start? And you're like, I started yesterday.
Yeah.
And then I'd say, that's good because I did this yesterday, you know, and before you know it, here it is, you know.
Well, it was great. Once again, just kind of a, you know, throwback to the networking thing. You know, I met Donnie through Ian Guthrie. Ian's been engineering here with me for 7 years, I think now. We were talking about the other day.
And they were, Noah, his brother, who Ian plays drums with, they were opening for us on tour. That's how I met him.
Right.
Yeah.
So just
great man. Awesome. Yeah.
Right. Through a whole, you know, series of things, Donnie ended up moving to our area here, and it's really it really all worked out super great. We have a brand new Dolby Atmos room that's been up and running for a couple months now. Yep. Had the opportunity to do some mixes out of there, and you know.
It's going great. I've been getting great results. Built an awesome template to work from.
Right.
I think from the feedback we're getting from everyone, it always translates well.
Yeah, for sure.
So I just feel like probably the years of training that I've had in all these other facets led me to this point to be able to work in that environment.
Sure, and that's what I was actually about to say. You know, thinking about what all we've talked about up to this point. You can kind of see in my mind, I can kind of see the progression of where, you know, kind of you started and where you've been, where you are now, where we're going, you know, with the music industry. And, you know, you and I both had done a bunch of research about Dolby Atmos. Spatial audio is another term that Apple Music uses. And, you know, the car industry is driving it. So basically every major car manufacturer from now forward will be equipped with an Atmos system that these mixes will translate while you're riding down the road. And you know, Apple's also driving the bus. I mean, with AirPods and
Samsung has come out with new sound bars. You know, so you can if you want to listen to Atmos in your home, it's like the entry into it's like around $1,600, I think, for a complete system. And when you're thinking about getting a home entertainment system with a sound bar and the rear speakers are like Bluetooth. All you just supply the power. They have a tuning system where they supply a microphone and timelines everything. They finally got it worked out to where everyone can enjoy Atmos mixes. Apple, like you were saying, the iPhone integration with spatial audio. If you have AirPods, I mean, a lot of people have an iPhone, have no idea they can even listen that they can listen to Dolby Atmos mixes. I'm here to tell you, people, you can do it.
And it's you know, the technology is it's still fairly new, and when I have conversations with artists, you know, sometimes artists have no clue that what I'm even talking about when I bring it up. Some artists have had a little bit of information about it, but they're not educated fully on like what can be done with Atmos and what it's all about and what it sounds like. And really the proof is in the pudding when you sit down in the room. And you know, I think we can. Can we put some pictures like right there at some point, like right under my finger right there, maybe. But we'll put some pictures of our room. But when you sit in the room and you sort of experience it in person, I mean, it sounds great on the AirPods. It really does. But when you experience it in person, it's a whole different way to experience music. And when we pulled up Elton John's Rocket Man for the first time, and we sat down in the room and we listened to it, this is no lie, the hair stood up on my arms as a musical experience that like I was not expecting.
I've had people get emotional, like people first time that they listen to something that they've listened to for a long time, and depending on the genre and everything, but get very emotional. Yeah, like it's something unlocks, like they've never heard that before.
Sure,
you know.
Yeah, it seriously is hard to explain, but as the progression of music goes along from 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s to where we are now, it's a thing that I hope is going to be around a long time, because of the literal experience that you have when you listen to it is totally different than just the stereo field just coming at you like this. You're literally sitting kind of inside of the song.
Yeah.
And well, you can imagine everything. So
you can imagine that. I mean, they're doing the sound bar thing now with a couple of speakers, and it's all Bluetooth, and it's all like, there's no wiring. So a lot of the older systems that people were putting in for surround sound systems, those, if you didn't know, you were going to drill a hole through the floor and pull a wire over here. There was a lot to it. Imagine televisions that are going to come out that the sound bar is built in. Yep. And it fires the ceiling speakers, they're using waveguide technology that just puts those frequent, that you need to hear from that bouncing off the ceiling and time aligning it to where you sit. Sure. It's amazing technologies, right? That you get to experience, in your home. I don't see why everyone wouldn't have it. And the price is going to keep getting better and better. Right. The more people that buy into it, it's going to force the competition in the marketplace and drive the price down. Yeah. And the good news for artists is if you're doing a project and you record your project in stereo, you just send the stems to someone like me, and I put it in the immersive format. And that automatically you can have access to other playlists. Yep.
That you previously would not have had access to. And in my mind, it's an incentive that Apple has created.
Absolutely.
Especially for independent artists, if you have your EPs and your singles in the spatial format, you can get on playlists that other independent artists are not on, and you get a leg up. Plus the fact that Apple is now incentivizing and paying more money. Yeah. When you have access to the spatial mixes, so there's a lot of benefits to right now to getting in on it. And Donnie has created what he's calling Sugar Immersive. Yeah. And it's his brand here that lives kind of in our studio at Studio 101, and we've had I don't know, we've done 2 full EPs now, several singles, it's since we started like 2 months ago. So it's like we're starting a process. Yeah. So, one thing I guess I can I do a shameless self-promotion right now? So, if you're listening to this and you have questions about spatial audio, Dolby Atmos, all those things. We would love to answer those questions.
Yeah.
If you'd like to send us a message, you can feel free to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions that you have, we can help you. And if you're ready to jump in to Dolby Atmos with your previously recorded music, that is totally possible. It doesn't matter what studio you recorded at. We can still make that happen for you. And, if you're in our local area, please let us know.
And I think we're also coming in at a price point that is super fair, and very competitive in the marketplace for the product that we can turn around for you. So it's like everybody's loved what we're doing.
Right. Yeah. And once again, it's just a fascinating process to me, and a really, really cool experience for artists. It's an opportunity that I think we're going to have going forward for artists to make an impact again.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
So
it's a new way to.
I encourage like get in touch with us and come here and experience it. I'll be glad to be here and meet with you, and show you the room, let you listen to stuff, so you can wrap your head around how it could change the way you might want to produce the music that you are creating.
Right.
You're going to hear things in a different way, and you're going to, when you're adding a shaker part in, in a song, a lot of times that was just something to move the song along, but all of a sudden you can put it over your head and behind you.
Sure.
There's crazy applications
for sure
for this.
Yeah.
Whatever you dream up, imagine putting every instrument in a different place.
Mm-hmm. It has, each thing has a different space to live in, as opposed to just that left-right stereo space.
There's a lot more dynamic range because there's so many speakers.
Yeah, and it really does. It really is amazing to me, some of the things that I hear in Dolby mixes that I was not sort of dialed into in the stereo mix, even if it's an older song.
There's instruments that you go, I never knew that there was a vibraphone, like a little bloop, like a crazy sound in this moment, because it's masked
for sure
in the stereo mix.
Yeah, because you only have so much space to put all of the super cool production ideas and things that have lived there for all these years, and now they're able to be kind of unmasked and revealed.
Yeah, it's really a great, interesting way to listen to music.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah.
Well, Donnie, I'm going to wrap up. We just about out of time here, but thanks again.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks again for coming in and sharing with us and giving us some of your wisdom of many years of experience. And if you guys are out there and you're interested in any more information about Dolby Atmos and mixing in Dolby, please send us a message, and Donnie would be glad to hook you guys up with any questions that you have. Sugar Immersive.
Yeah, and we can put information, I guess, in a way for people to get in touch with us on this.
Sure can.
Love to hear from you.
We can make it happen. Good deal. Well, thanks a lot once again, Donnie, and we will see you guys on our next episode of the Studio 101 Recording Podcast.